Hello friends, welcome to my lair. I'm Professor Bell, and today I'm going to be showing you the only way to paint scale figures. Now this is really simple. Just follow these exact steps perfectly and you're going to get really perfect, excellent, lifelike figures. Just assemble these basic tools and materials, and after reviewing my 75-minute video on assembling and prepping figures, you can jump right in. So first I like to pre-prime, followed by a perio-prime and of course a primer coat, which you can follow with some post-priming. Next you need to work on shading. I like to pre-shade, undershade, shade, and post-shade. Now you don't have to do all of these shading steps, but if you don't, how on earth is anybody going to figure out that your figure is three-dimensional? Then you need to work on structure, and what's the foundation of the human body? Bone structure. Then you can add muscles, tendons, ligaments, etc. Then you can start layering the skin. How many layers of skin do you need? Well, obviously as many layers as a human has, about 8 to 10. You really don't have to add all the layers of skin in, but if not, why are you even painting scale figures in the first place? Once the skin is painted, I like to give it a clear coat to simulate bacteria and microbes. Then you can get into skin tones. It helps if you take a 3-year esthetician course, but basically you'll need to do some pre-toning, glazing, spot toning, intra-shading, facial hair shading, shade toning, tone shading, and lastly shadow replication, since it's assumed that you won't be viewing these figures in light. Now, you don't have to complete all of these steps, but if you don't, who the hell do you think you are? And finally, you can put the finishing touches on your perfect figure. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. Okay. Don't go. There actually is a trick, by the way. There is a trick to painting perfect figures. I'm sorry, I'm a troll, I can't help it. I actually live under a bridge and everything. So I wanted to make this video because there are literally tons of videos out there, and really good videos, by the way, on how to paint really good scale figures. And the one thing that many of them are actually missing is the one actual real secret to painting really good scale figures. And I'll tell you what it is right now. That's you have to do it a lot. A lot. Practice makes perfect, and you got to keep practicing again and again and again. Every single one of those persons that are making these excellent videos on how to make the perfect figures, I can pretty much guarantee they've each painted at least 100 figures. And that's not the base minimum in all of this, but that's a lot. They've probably painted hundreds, if not thousands, of figures. So definitely watch their stuff, because it's good. There's actually really good tips and all that. They have valuable advice, but I just need to also point out that if your figures don't come out perfect right away after watching one of these videos, don't sweat, right? Just paint 99 more of them and you'll actually come out with some really good figures. And honestly, isn't having fun painting figures the whole point? So I am going to show you how I paint one of these scale figures, and normally I do 1/72 scale, so I'm getting a little bit out of my my comfort range here. I've probably only done about 25 of the 1/35 scale figures, so I've got a while before I actually probably have any business making a how-to video, but still, I'm going to do it not so much as a how-to, but more of this is what I do, and if you want to, you can do it too. So I call this style of figure painting intuitive painting, because I don't think that there actually is a magic formula. I think that each figure is going to be unique in its own way. Would it make sense to paint a Wehrmacht soldier and a Viet Cong rebel soldier in the same way? I don't think so, and so basically I just begin with what I think will look good, and then I'll adapt as I see fit for a particular subject and kind of go back and forth a little bit with different things. So, first off, use some alcohol to clean off all the garbage you applied while making your joke video. You can use a stiff brush if you need. I think the nice thing about this is if you do screw up, you can always start over. I should probably prime again, but I'm not going to bother. I feel like the poor guy has had enough already. So I'll start by giving him 2 to 3 coats of skin. If you prefer thinner coats, you can probably do more, but I think the 2 to 3 range is just fine. Once I've got the skin base on, I'm going to paint the coat. I don't have exact colors, so I'm hoping that Tamiya's neutral gray is close enough to field gray, but I honestly think it's too gray. I always thought the German uniforms had more of a green tint, so I'll goof around with that later on. I'm going to make a wash with this burnt sienna oil paint and some mineral spirits. I do this with my 1/72 scale figures, and honestly, for 1/72 scale, you can get away with just stopping at this step for the skin tones, but I think with the 135s you need a little bit more care. And I also thought it was a little bit too much, so I let it dry a tiny bit and then cleaned off some of the excess with a dry brush, and then I gave him a very light wash with the flesh tone again. Then I painted over all of his leather doodads. I just used Tamiya flat brown, but I'm certain you can get very specific paints for it, like Wehrmacht cartridge pouch leather brown early war 1939-40. Brown for me works well enough. I have a few other shades that I can use for the stock of his rifle and some other wood leather things, so brown will be fine here. Just paint very carefully to make sure all those belts and things stand out. I'm also using the same brown for his hair since it will most likely be covered anyway, and I'm using it for his eyes since he is an SS. So I didn't think the Tamiya neutral gray was good enough for the field gray uniform, so I tried Vallejo's light green to see what would happen. I actually think it looks a little bit more like a German uniform gray, so I'm going to roll with it here, and later on I'll go over the rest of the uniform with it to give it that green tinge. I'm painting the boots flat black. If the dude were going to be clean in the end, I might finish the figure by lightly polishing the boots with a blue shop towel, but ultimately this guy is actually going to be put in a muddy scene, so I'll forego that for now. Don't forget to subscribe so you can see the whole scene. Do you ever find yourself repeating that Kipling poem while painting boots? So I'm using Tester's flat steel for all the metal bits. I'm not sure what color they actually should be, but I think this is fine. If you happen to know, by the way, the exact color of the buttons, please let me know in the comments. I bet they're cloth covered. I always figure you should take time with the weapons since people like them and they'll naturally draw the eye. Anyway, I'm actually using Japanese deck linoleum for the stock of this Mauser. And again, I'm just making a light wash from the Vallejo light green to give his uniform that greenish tinge. I'm focusing mostly on the shoulders and the bottom of the coat as I figured the darker parts might help to simulate wetness later on. I'm not sure how well it worked. Now I'm going to put this Tamiya panel liner everywhere to highlight raised areas, create shadow, and to darken things up a little bit. I also decided the face still needed some definition, so I'm going to try a wash with this burnt umber. I'm trying to keep it subtle while still highlighting his features. Next, I need to assemble his marching kit. The Wehrmacht was a pretty efficient fighting machine, so each soldier was equipped with enough kit to keep them combat effective for an extended period of time. In order, he's got a Schnitzelpan, a Kartoffelsack, a Schnapps decanter, a Lebkuchen jar, a picnic blanket, and a toiletries tin with shaving kit so they could look smart while marching through enemy capitals. I just painted all this equipment with the same techniques and many of the same colors, brown for leather, flat steel for metal bits, etc. For the canvasy looking bits, I used Tamiya dark yellow, and I also used some dark earth for certain brown parts for the color variation. That's also Tamiya. Then we just stick all this stuff on. Give it the panel lighter treatment too. And then we can give him his little helmet decals. I didn't like the Tamiya decals at first because they didn't want to come off the paper easily, but I have to admit they are of very good quality in the end. And finally, I give the whole figure a flat clear coat to get rid of any shine, and he's done. So, there you go. He's probably not perfect, but again, I've probably got like 75 more figures to do before I can actually call anything perfect. So there's that. I think in the future I might lay down a little red undercoat just to give him some more of a fleshy, kind of like live sort of look. But other than that, I'll just go ahead and keep on intuiting what I think looks best for these figures. Let me know your best tip for painting scale figures in the comments, by the way. And also, leave me a like if you liked the video. If you didn't like the video, of course, leave me a dislike, but also make sure you let me know what I can do better. And if you really, really, really liked the video, maybe consider subscribing. The whole point of me making these videos, by the way, is so that I can share all of the joy I'm getting out of making these things. And so hopefully you enjoyed watching this video just as much as I enjoyed making it. And with that said, I wish you all joy in your lives, and I hope to see you again soon.